Hello and welcome friends to a little tutorial where I will show you how I make my sticker sheets using a Silhouette Portrait 3, my Mac computer, and a Canon Pixma printer. If you are watching this video after having just watched the one where I show you how I design my sticker sheets, welcome back. And if you haven't watched that one but you would like to see that before you see this, I will link it up here for you to watch. So one of my core personality traits is that I am an avid coffee drinker, so I made a coffee themed sticker sheet, which is the one I will be demonstrating how I print and cut for this video. So step one was exporting it from Procreate, where I designed it onto my computer. I've experimented with a few different file types for my sticker sheets, and this time I went with JPEG, and I will explain later why I use that one. You don't have to use it necessarily, it just depends on what you want to do with it as you're editing it later on. So the first thing that I will say right off the bat that is very important to know why I do the techniques that I do is that for some reason, I don't know if this is Mac specific or if it's just a problem with Silhouette Studio, but every time I've tried to print my stickers directly from Silhouette Studio, they're always really poor quality. I completely lose my image quality when I'm trying to print it from Silhouette Studio. But the problem is that you need your sheets to have registration marks on it when you put it into the Silhouette to get it to register where the cut marks are supposed to go. So I've found a couple of workaround ways to be able to print my file on Photoshop instead so that the quality of the image is still nice and high, even though I'm doing the cutting through Silhouette Studio. So the first technique I'll show you is actually one that someone left in a comment on my previous sticker making video, so thank you to Ron if you're watching this for sharing this technique with me. So what you can do is I just clicked and dragged my JPEG file right into Silhouette Studio and then just adjusted it to make it fit, so I would have two on the page. And then from there, you just save your file as a PDF through Silhouette Studio, but to do this on Silhouette Studio, you have to go like you're going to print it, and then you hit Save as PDF and save that file on your computer. And then you can upload that file into Photoshop. And now one thing to keep in mind if you do this technique for getting your file to have your registration marks on it is that I found that it does lose some of the color quality of your image. So if you use this technique, you're going to end up having to kind of restore the colors when you're working in Photoshop by messing with the saturation and brightness and contrast and stuff like that. So that's the one downside to this method. And now I'll show you my usual technique that I've been doing all along to make my sticker sheets. So like I mentioned, that last technique does have the downside of losing some of the color quality. This one is a little bit more tedious in terms of lining things up properly. So they both have their downsides. It's just up to you which beast you'd rather fight for your stickers. So for this technique, I start right off in Photoshop, upload the JPEG file into Photoshop, and my first step, I like to adjust the vibrance, and the reason why I picked JPEG is because it allows me to adjust the vibrance where other files don't allow you to. I'm not a designer, I'm not a pro at Photoshop, I don't know why. This is just what I've learned in my experiences. I have a feeling, I think it has something to do with it being a CMYK file. I don't know, if you know the answer, I'd love to hear it in the comments. The reason though why I really like to adjust the vibrance is that vibrance is very similar to adjusting saturation, but vibrance doesn't brighten things that already have a really strong saturation, so it keeps the balance of your image a lot nicer than boosting the saturation. So the reason why this technique is a little bit tedious is you have to save a blank Silhouette file from Silhouette Studio onto your computer so that you can upload it into Photoshop and then line up your sticker sheets on there for printing so that your final document has registration marks on it when it goes into your Silhouette. So to do this, you just open a new blank file in Silhouette Studio, then you go to print and hit print again. And then you're going to save it as a PDF wherever you want to put it on your computer that you'll be able to find it later. And then you upload that into Photoshop. So once you've got your blank silhouette registration mark file open in Photoshop, the next thing you have to do is get your sticker sheet file onto that, which all you have to do is a simple click and drag. I like to merge together all of my files so it is less layers that I have to move over onto the silhouette registration mark file afterwards, but you don't necessarily have to do that. Then you just have to take your sticker sheet file and resize it to the size you want it to be on the page. I like to make mine just a tiny bit smaller than 4x6. I make the original file 4x6 so that when I'm in this stage, I can shrink it down just a little bit in the event that I want to be able to fit the sticker sheet inside something that is 4x6 sized, just because it doesn't really make a difference that it's that much smaller, but it prevents that potential issue in the future. Then I just duplicate that so both stickers will be exactly the same, and then slide it over so it's sitting right next to it on the page, and that it's centered so that I am avoiding having it go outside of the registration mark cut lines, because I've had that cause issues in it printing and cutting before. I get my sticker paper from Online Labels. It's a 100% recycled sticker paper, which I love. I like that it's nice and thin, and there's nothing on the back side, which is great for being able to customize it completely, but you do have to be careful that you put it in your printer the right way. I've accidentally printed my stickers on the not sticky side before, but I would definitely recommend their sticker paper. It's a pretty good price as well. And then these are the print settings that I used from Photoshop. I just kind of experimented with what worked best for my printer. You might want to experiment, see what works best with yours, but these might be a good set of settings to start off with if you are figuring this out for yourself. Okay, so now it's time to import that file into Photoshop, and if you've done the method where you saved it as a PDF from Silhouette Studio, you won't have to do this because your sticker sheets will already be lined up in Silhouette Studio, but it's not too hard to just take your file and shrink it down to make it line up with the registration marks that are on the Silhouette Studio file. Just have to go in and make sure that they're on in your page setup. So the first cut lines that I add are the rounded square edges that are going to get a full cut that will cut out the actual sticker sheet itself. So I make sure that I've got the rounded edge. That's optional. You could do a square edge if you prefer. That's totally up to you. And then I make sure I change the color so that when I go to send it for cutting later, I can distinguish which type of cut I want for each color. And then I just adjust it till I get exactly the size that I want. I have to go in and edit it again to get the, this is where I want to make sure that the edges are the size that's right under 4x6 again, just because that's my preference. And then I just copy and paste that same shape and put it on the other sticker sheet so that again they're exactly the same size, and I've lined them up right in the middle so that there can just be one cut that goes down the middle. If you're having trouble getting it to line up nicely, you just have to go into Enable Smart Snapping, and then it will line up easily and kind of stop in the right place. So then once the full cut for the edges, the line for that is done, then I go in and trace the area for the kiss cuts that are going to be for the individual stickers. So you go into the trace panel and then you just select the area of your stickers. And then I go in and change the threshold, and I found that doing about 85 works for me, because if I go all the way to 99%, because I use lots of pencil brushes that are really textured, it makes the edges of my stickers so like bumpy that it's really hard for the silhouette to, like, it will cut it, but it'll be super weird and jagged. So if you do 80% threshold, and then we're going to do outside trace of this anyways, so it helps make sure that it's like a nice even outline, if that makes sense. And then I always make sure I do trace outer edge, because again, since everything is so textured, if I try to just do trace, it ends up tracing all of the little textury bits on the inside, and then I have extra lines to worry about, and I don't want that. So trace outer edge works best if you have more complex textured illustrations like mine. Okay, so now we want to offset the trace lines that we've already done, because at least for me, I like my stickers to have a bit of a border, not just be cut right on the edge. If you do want yours to be cut right on the edge, you can skip this step. So you go in and click right on one of the edges that you've done with the trace, and then you go into the offset panel and just hit offset, and then you just have to decide what distance you want the offset to be. I like 0.03 for mine, but that's just a personal preference. And then you want to go back in and delete the original lines that you did, because you don't want it to cut both right on the border and for the offset. And then we're just going in and doing the exact same thing on the other side. I've gotten Silhouette to let me copy and paste my cut lines before, but I have a lot of issues with Silhouette Studio doing what I ask it to do. I've discovered that it's kind of a Mac specific issue. Silhouette Studio doesn't run super great on the Mac, but it worked just fine anyways. The sticker design was exactly the same, so the outlines came out exactly the same. You just make sure you follow the steps the same way and make sure the offset is the same distance. Okay, so the last thing that needs to be done before we can get the Silhouette to cut our stickers is to put our already printed sheet from Photoshop onto the Silhouette cutting mat. So I don't know if I'm just dumb, but I had so many issues lining this up properly when I first started doing this. So here is what it looks like when I line mine up properly, in case you need a little demo. Okay, so I'm ready to send my file to be cut. Make sure you go into the line setting here so that you can adjust based on which type of line that you're cutting here, because we want a full cut on the outside and then a kiss cut on the inside for each individual sticker. And I will just do some close-ups here on the settings that I have for both kiss cut and full cut if you want to use those as your starting point. If you have different paper, you're probably going to need to adjust the settings, but if it's even somewhat close to mine, these should hopefully work for you. So when my sticker sheets come out, I have this handy tool from Cricut. Don't tell Silhouette that I'm using a Cricut product with their sticker mat and cutting machine. It just works really well for making sure I can keep my sticker sheet flat while I bend the sticker mat back and get the sheet off while not bending it. So I just repeat this process for as many sticker sheets I want to make. I think I made like 12 or 16 or something for the shop update I have coming up. That's just totally up to you what you think is a good amount to make. So that brings us to the end of this video. Leave me a comment if you're working on sticker sheets of your own and you're having any issues. I'd be more than happy to help you try and troubleshoot. I know how frustrating this can be. I was ripping my hair out the first few times I was trying to figure out how to do this myself. Thanks again for watching. I would super appreciate a little thumbs up or maybe a subscribe to my little YouTube page if you enjoyed this video. Yeah, you're wonderful. I hope you have a great day.